Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, Rangers. It's me, Jackie Kashian. Welcome to the Dork Forest. It's 2024. Let's do this. Here's the credits, of course. Mike Ruekberg sang that song at the beginning, and he wrote that song, and he sang it with Sarah Cohen, his wife, and he will sing the Mexican hat dance at the end of the program. Also, Patrick Brady, still putting this together. Video, audio, all of it. He's amazing. So, and Vilmos doing JackieKashianStore.com. Squarespace is doing the regular Jackie Kashian page, and I'm thinking of moving the Dork Forest and dorkforest.com away from WordPress because it's driving me nuts. But those are the credits. But if you go to JackieKashian.com, you can get Dork Forest merch. You can get my stand-up merch. You can get my stand-up CDs and DVDs, which you'd have to have devices for those. You can also see videos and find out any number of things. I have another podcast called The Jackie and Laurie Show, but the Dork Forest is the flagship. 18th year. We're doing it, you guys. You can go to my Bandcamp or my YouTube for extra content. Please donate, is what I'm saying. It's 2024, and I think we've been in this long enough. Why don't you guys, everybody send me $100? That's what I'd like you to do. You can PayPal me. There's links all over the pages. You can Venmo me at Jackie Kashian. You can find me at a stand-up show and hand me a sweaty wad of 20s. Do something. But I love doing the show. I would love to make some money, is what I'd like to do. In other news, I'm sure there's more things that I should talk about, but I can't think of them. But let's listen to who's going to dork out about something, because that's my favorite part. Thanks for listening, you guys. You're all great. Let's get into the show. Oh, my God. Hi, everyone. It's me, Jackie Kashian, head ranger. Gonna take the crown, you guys, of the Dork Forest. And I am in Denver. And with me today on the Dork Forest is Denver comic and delight, Katie Bowman. Katie Bowman. Is it Bowman? I'm doing Bowman, right?
Nope, Bowman's good. Yeah.
I did it right. So Katie
Yes.
Bowman is spelled like you would spell it. Bowman. And she has her current album, Neurodivergent Nightmare.
Yep, that's right.
I'm not wrong. And everything is at Katie Bowman, like Instagram and TikTok and all that. And katiebowman.rocks. And I don't know how you got that because there's no .com. It's just .rocks.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Well, katiebowman.com was taken. So I was like, well, .rocks. You know, I'm a huge
Rocks.
Peaches fan, and she has Peaches Rocks. And I was like, it's kind of like I'm following her footsteps, you know?
Oh, well, you've chosen wisely. Here we are of a January in 2025, a year that promises to be a real shit show. But anyway, let's talk about something you love, because that's what the Dork Forest is about. Horror movies, which is something I've never been able to get into because they're scary. Can I ask what kind, just an oversight of what kind of horror films are your faves?
I love everything, but I think my favorite is cosmic horror.
Cosmic? What the?
I know.
What is that?
Let's look up the definition for it because it's actually it's kind of like spacey. It's like so beautiful. It's scary. Is kind of the whole vibe of it. And it's like a new
sci-fi, but also like Uncanny Valley with like a VR, like a
it's
FX
Lovecraftian,
kind of?
as you would say. Yes.
Oh, I would say Lovecraftian. I enjoy the word, even though I've never read any Lovecraft, and I hear that there's trouble there.
I know, that's what I've heard. I did watch the HBO series Lovecraft Country. Did you check that out?
No.
It's pretty good.
It sounds scary. Yeah.
There's some plot holes, but you know, that's all. I feel like a lot of horror has plot holes, you know?
Have you ever thought about writing a horror novel called Plausible Deniability?
Yeah, you know, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah. Like, just like nothing. I think there is an irritation that comes with it that would be really fun to play with the viewers, because there's so many classic tropes in horror that it would be really fun to mess with what the viewer expects out of something. And like if there's more plot holes, I could see someone getting really agitated, and it's like you're feeling something, and that's what it's supposed to do.
You're feeling you're not numbed out. Well, congratulations and welcome to humanity.
Yes.
I do. Someone did tell me that that they liked that what was it was like what are the final girl trope? I learned about that on a Dork Forest when someone told me that was one of their favorite things, was when there's a final girl. And then sometimes there's a sequel and the final girl gets her own back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I am a huge fan of that. And that's like Jamie Lee Curtis, like that's where she got started, she was the
final girl, the first one. In which one was she in that one? Was that
Halloween? And her mom was actually Psycho. So it's like this lineage of,
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah,
what, Vivian Lee, or what was her name? Lee.
It was, oh my God. It's every time I like am tested on names, my brain, it's like I know them, but Janet Lee. That's what
Janet
it is.
Lee. That's it.
I was like, it's close to Jamie. It's not Jamie, but it's a J name,
Okay.
I feel like
you have a podcast about horror movies that I forgot to plug. What's it called?
It's called Help Me, I'm Scared with Bowman. I know. That is the like dilemma of horror, is like, help me, why am I scared? That's why I started the podcast, because I realized I would get in all these like arguments in the comments after a movie came out about what if it was scary or not, and I was like, I think this boils down to the fact that we all are just scared by different things, and it would be fun to like,
you would think that it would
get
be
into that.
Would be the same thing that we would all be scared of. No?
Yeah. We're like, was that all collectively? And it's funny because I was just talking about this with another friend. Like, I think women tend to be more scared of like people, like horror movies about people, because it's more realistic, But I've noticed that a lot of my male counterparts are scared of like religious horror, like Exorcist, any kind of demon stuff. And I wonder if that's because like collectively a lot of people are raised on religion. There was a lot of Catholics in my generation, and
who still have like demon theories and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I would say they're still like scarred by that, like you're gonna burn in hell if you don't do these things. But here's a catch. I feel like women and queer people don't fit into those fears because it gives power to men more in these religions. A lot of religions do give a lot of more power back to the men. And so it's like, you can't already take something from someone who's already powerless. So I think women they're like, they don't believe in it as much.
Right. It's right. They possibly have been fighting that people. Power their whole time. So for them to go, and on top of that, men are also controlling some sort of omany weird, like religious artifact, and you're like, yeah. Anyway, I just think that the priest behind the demon's gonna hurt me.
100%. Yeah, like I don't trust that guy with my fucking kids. Like that is truly, and like it's like been. Women have been trying to pull back that curtain for a long time. Like, God bless Sinead O'Connor, like it's just crazy how in denial too. There's like a fear of denial there that's going on.
Right. They're like, well, I'm going to control you using this mean God that I made up and this mean devil that I've made up. And the women in the room are like, or just the guy talking about the mean God and the mean.
Yes.
Good Lord. It didn't even occur to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what was that? Did you watch Chaos on Netflix? The new
what's that?
It's the it's a Greek mythology made into like a more new, but it's still the reality of
live action.
It's got Jeff Goldblum in it, and it's got a great cast in it. And but it's like everyone is a myth. It might also have Roman mythology, or I could be confusing them, but no, Zeus is Greek, right?
Zeus? No, yes, Zeus is Greek, and Jove
Greek
is Roman.
That's right. I get like some of them mixed up. Some of them,
Right.
like the god or the deity. What is it?
Well, I have to say that. Did you ever read Neil Gaiman's American Gods?
That's on my list of books to read. I heard it's
Right. There's
amazing.
actually a graphic novel of it that's quite good. And it's essentially
Ooh, I
the
gotta read
gods
it.
from other continents in that have somehow also immigrated to the United States.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. I gotta
it's
check it
pretty
out.
it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I
The
love the
you can't
Sandman.
mention
Like,
right, you can't mention Neil Gaiman without saying I think there's something dodgy. He might have abused his power in some way, but I don't
yes,
know a lot about it. So we're just
yeah.
gonna say I still enjoy Harry Potter, even though J.K. Rowling has decided to die at a really fucking weird hill.
Yes, I
So
know. It's
okay,
not like you got a tattoo of Harry Potter after J.K.
right, right, yes, but I do still quote the Mad Eye Moody thing, which is constant vigilance.
I know. I
Anyway,
quote it all the time. I mean, I think it's just like nailed into us because it's been around now for what? It's almost,
it's over
it's,
20 years,
yes, I was like, it's 2 decades, right? Like it's
more than that.
in
It
there
might be
now.
90. Yeah, I think it's 30
Yeah, 90.
years.
How, okay, yeah. Like it was my life
It's
growing up.
pushing. Yeah, it's
It's
like pushing
also
30 for sure.
one of the last books my dad read with me.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like holding on to that like little memory that we have of each other before he was like, I'm
Are
done.
you kidding me? I watch a John Wayne movie just because my dad really likes John Wayne movies, and
I
I
know
am
there's certain
unmoved
things.
by John Wayne movies when I think about them objectively. So,
Yeah,
okay. So,
that's
what's an example of a cosmic horror film?
okay. So, cosmic horror films. One of my favorites, Annihilation.
Annihilation?
Um, and it is so. Do you know Alex Garland, the
Nope.
director? So he actually wrote the screenplay for 28 Days Later.
Okay.
And that was like so. That's also considered. Some people would consider that cosmic horror. That was like one of the.
Zombie. It's a
It was
zombie
like a
thing, right?
zombie. It's like an artsy zombie movie, just
Right.
for people who aren't in horror.
It's
Like
I think
it's
all zombie movies are kind of artsy, don't you
they
think?
are. See, like
The
yes, there's so
the
much
TV
beauty in it.
right, the TV show I don't think had a lot of beauty in it, but I think that
Yeah, no,
the
that's
movies
true.
are. Yeah.
Definitely. For some reason, I do feel like there that was like the time that little chunk of time, like The Walking Dead was kind of around the same time as Game of Thrones, and everything was very gruesome in the
Yeah.
in those, like you're seeing some rough kid scenes in there where like
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
You're
that
like,
actually
nobody wants that. Nobody wants to
yeah.
don't please stop normalizing incest. Excellent.
Yes,
It's,
yes. Oh my
hey,
god, so
bumper
true.
sticker, you guys. Anyway.
So I think you actually might be able to get into Annihilation as so the
Okay.
movie is
Yeah, what
scary.
is
It's
it?
for sure scary.
What
But so
year?
it's based off of it's also based off of a series of books that are sci-fi. They call them sci-fi horror. But when I read them, I don't like it's interesting. The movie is horror. It is horror. It is sci-fi horror. But the books are kind of more like sci-fi, more leaning sci-fi to me than they are like I mean there's stuff scary that's happening, but so is there scary stuff I would say in like other horror. I mean other sci-fi is that like I mean like Dune, you wouldn't but the sandworms are scary. You know what I mean? Like that is a scary thing. That's how
Oh,
I feel
that's
about
interesting.
Annihilation, like reading
Okay.
it. Like I'm like, it wasn't as scary as a read as the movie. I think Alex Garland really leaned into making it a little more scary, but it's basically like
Okay.
sci-fi. The movie has really good music. They tend to have really good music. They tend to have really beautiful shots. Sometimes the shots are so beautiful and then there's something scary about it,
Oh, I don't know.
And
I love that you like the soundtrack though and the cinematography.
oh yeah, like in
So,
the music in horror can be so good or it can just be like whatever. But I think he really always picks like a really awesome whoever
this
does the
is a
sound
hell
for
of a
his movies.
wait. So, Annihilation, the movie from
Yeah.
2018 with Natalie
Yes.
Portman
Oh,
and
so hot.
Oscar
Yes.
Isaac and Tessa
Yes.
Thompson and Jennifer
Yes.
Jason Lee,
Dude,
and
it's
it
a
just keeps
Gina
going.
Rodriguez. Yes.
Yeah.
Literally the whole cast is insane. It's a bunch of women go, and you know what's funny? My
What
other
is the
favorite
story? Yeah.
film
Oh,
is The
before you go,
Thing.
okay,
And so, but I feel like you're familiar with The Thing, right? Because that's
no,
like,
I don't know
okay.
the thing. But
Um,
what's the
sorry.
overview of the Annihilation? What's it
So,
about?
these 5 women go into, there's this like bomb on Earth that creates its own little microbiome, and it keeps like taking up more land slowly, like it's
Okay.
expanding.
Sure.
And they think it came from, I guess I shouldn't have called it a bomb. It was like,
Space.
yeah, it was like a meteorite or something crashed. And so they've been sending troops in for years, and nobody ever comes out,
Oh.
or if they do, they get cancer and they die like immediately.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
everyone's like, yeah,
So they
you
come out
know,
and they just kind of turn to dust and bones
they
immediately.
can no longer, yeah, like they can no longer handle Earth's atmosphere. And
Weird.
so they've only sent in men, and then they send in, I think, men and women, or no, they only send in men in the movie, and then they finally send in an all-female troop. Um, and then as they go in, there's all this crazy stuff, like time doesn't go by the same way that it does on Earth. And
Okay.
there's like, you find, do you want me to give you like a big spoiler? Is it okay if I?
Yeah, I'll write down that this is a spoiler of a movie that happened in 2018. That'd be
Yeah,
6
like you
years
can't
ago.
be mad. You can't be
Right.
mad. But the spoiler is that the entire microbiome acts as a prism with your DNA, so everything is refracted. And so, like, everything just is constantly evolving at a faster rate and
Oh.
becoming like one. So you're seeing like deer with like trees for antlers, and then also
Oh.
like people slowly become part of the environment, like they just get like sucked into it in some ways, and like
And they become part of the land essentially, or
yes, or creatures, whatever. There's this one of the best creature features. It's also a creature feature, so you're getting like 2 in 1 there, and just like, and it's funny because I would say it's like an also kind of like The Thing, like Kurt Russell, Dave Child, 1980s Thing, John Carpenter, but it's with
Oh,
women,
okay.
you know. And so
Okay.
my joke of it is that I'm like, both these films prove that we should not just focus on one gender. We should just like mix up all the genders.
Right, because DNA is different, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. And chromosomes might affect what's happening in your
Yeah.
weird biodome.
Yes. And there's this creature in it that is so scary. The first time I saw it, I was like, it was riveting. Like, it was like being on a crazy roller coaster that's really scary with a creature feature when you're a kid or something.
Oh, okay.
But
Are
it's
there
this,
jump scares?
yes, but it's
Okay.
more like you're seeing things, like, yeah, and you're seeing what's happening to people. So it's this like horror of like make the most awful things that can happen. I just looked up the definition of it, and I was like, that's exactly what the words I'm looking for. But it's basically like things that make you feel kind of like a small little speck in the universe, which I know no one would
Right.
want to do that, but it's interesting. Like, it really puts you in a perspective of like, we are just little tiny dots on a timeline, and that's good to remind yourself of, because it's important to stay present. That's what it gives me when I watch these things. But like, there's this bear that's like been in that area for so long that it's like not just a bear, there's like some other animal, but whatever it eats, it becomes part of the bear. And
Okay.
so it ate a couple people in the movie, and whenever it like makes sounds, it has the voice boxes of the people it ate inside of it.
Oh my
So there's
God.
like this woman's voice and a bear, it's like fused together, and she's like, help me. And it's
Oh
just
God.
like,
Oh, that's
it
super
is
creepy.
so scary, because you're like, okay, is she just like stuck in that? She's just like
Bear.
part.
Can she get out of the bear? Can she get out of the bear?
She's just like part of the bear. It's like kind of like it's also got some hints of the blob, you know?
Right. Well, because is there? Let's just cut right to the case, right to the chase, right here, in the 17th minute of me recording. Do they live?
So one person kind of makes it out, but you don't know.
Final girl.
There is a final girl, and
but it's all girls, so there would be a final girl.
Yes, and like they fight for their lives so differently too. So it's like a fun game to play. Like, if you could have been one of them, who do you think you would have reacted to?
Oh, right. Sex in the City. Like, which one would
absolutely. Would you have been the one who loses her mind? And there's another one, like there's this like field of tree, like it's like cherry blossom looking trees, but they're in the shape of people. So it's like obviously like they were people that just kind of became
teams that went in, or people that happen to live in that area. Okay.
Yeah, and like this one girl just becomes you see her kind of go into that, and then there's another one who like tries to fight the bear and dies, and then
right.
Another one gets kind of just taken because there's so many different types of beasts in there, and then the last one who makes it, they basically get close to like the nucleus of this place and find out that it's also cloning everything. Like it's just cloning everything. So like she comes face to face with her own clone, and they battle it out, and then the screen actually goes black for a second. So you really don't know if it's her or the clone that kills each other. And then she makes it out. But then at the end, like there's a little pixel in her eye that like her DNA is not but it changes your DNA the minute you get in there. So it could be her. She's just evolved because she was in, they call it Area X.
Area X.
Or the Shimmer. They call it the Shimmer
right.
or Area X.
And what do you love about it? Because what it sounds like, it sounds like a very complex thriller is what it sounds like. Yes. It doesn't sound like a horror movie so much.
It is. It's very
like a lot of plot.
If you like King Kong and stuff like that, I would say this is it is, yeah. Like, and they come in contact with that, and but at the same time, there's all this other plot going on. Like the main girl, who is Natalie Portman, like the other team doesn't know this, but like her husband was in the troop before her, and he came back and was sick, and so she goes in because she's like, I have nothing left. But then she's like, I'm not going to tell the other girls that I have a partner that went through this.
Right. Like, the reason I'm going in is because I'm hoping to find him. And
and like, interesting. What happened? Yeah, it's very the relationships and the building of tension is so good throughout the whole film.
Right. I'm actually looking for what I think is a previous Natalie Portman movie. Wait, except for I don't think it is Natalie Portman. It was some other very good looking actress person who's also very smart. This is I'm in the part of show business that doesn't know who anybody is. So knowing you're like it's a movie about, it's a Korean kaiju. It's essentially two different movies. And she made it herself. I thought it was Natalie Portman, but it's probably not. There's when she goes home to her hometown and goes into a playground. Mm-hmm. A kaiju shows up in downtown Seoul, Korea.
Okay. What's a kaiju?
Kaiju is a Godzilla-like mecha monster.
Oh, okay. So it's like okay,
it's a big monster movie, but it's also a weirdly. It's a weird movie about relationships and addiction and about
totally, that is
going
like
back to your hometown and all these other weird things.
Yeah, like you're overcoming. I think a lot of horror films with the final female lead is like an overcoming story, but it's also like horrific the whole time. Which I love. I love it. You would say Gravity, I think, would also be another movie that falls into the cosmic horror.
What's that one? Explain that one. While I quickly look up whatever the hell I'm talking about. Even though people are yelling at their phones because I've done it.
Please look it up. Yeah, they're probably like, we know. No. Gravity's the one with Sandra Bullock where she gets like stuck in space. It's like films where you're really kind of facing yourself in this bigger natural disaster. And
was that George Clooney as well?
Yeah, he's in it too. It's kind of funny. Like, I think, I don't want to, I don't know. I mean, that came out
No,
forever
no,
ago.
this is
Yeah.
everything came out forever ago. I'm going to tell that this is going to be super spoilery. I'll put the
This is
names of
super
the movies.
spoiling.
And what was the name of
Yeah,
that one?
George Clooney like dies in it like really early, so like she's just kind of sitting with this corpse in space for like a long time, and
Is
it
that
gets
a cosmic
very.
horror movie too?
It's a little Ren and Stimpy, you know, like.
It's what's the one where they carry the dead guy around to different party? Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. Okay.
What's
Yes, that
the
is.
Sandra Bullock one called?
That one's Gravity.
That's it.
Gravity, and that one I'm not. It's not like my favorite. I'm just thinking of like other cosmic horrors.
How
But
about
yeah,
The
20.
Martian?
The Martian.
Do you think The Martian would
I
that be cosmic horror?
actually
I don't
haven't
think-
seen The Martian. It was one of the ones
I
I
don't think
missed.
it
Like I
is,
just.
but it's weird because it's a really, really good movie, and I heard it was a great book.
Yeah,
But
that's what I've
it's
heard both. I just missed
with
it.
the
It was one
Born
of those things
Identity
where
guy.
everyone saw it without me and then like hyped it up a lot, and I just felt like I like couldn't catch up. But I gotta. That's so many things, you know. You just like I really wanted to see the new Gladiator movie, and I just never got to see it because all these other movies I wanted to see were in theaters.
It's streaming. Don't worry about it.
The new movie, The Substance, that's also cosmic horror. Is
That
what
one's
people
new?
are saying. Yes, and that one's new. It's the one with Demi Moore. I have a feeling
wow.
she just got a Golden Globe for it. I think for Best Actress, and it's for a horror category. Like that's amazing, you know. And it really revamped her career. She calls herself a phoenix right now, which is cool. Oh wait, I think either my headphones.
No, it's me.
Okay, no. Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. It might have been Keira Knightley or whatever.
Oh, Keira
But it
Knightley.
It could have been something. The Monster.
Oh, The Monster.
I think it might have been called The Monster. No, I'm wrong. But The Monster, who
I'm looking at
is
The
in it?
Monster,
Zoe
and I'm like-
Kazan and Ella Ballantine. I never saw it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
If anyone knows what I'm talking about, you know who will know?
Yeah, it
Andy,
sounds really
when
cool.
I do the phone bonus. When I do the phone bonus for this, because we saw it together and we were both surprised that it was a monster movie, and B, any kind of like if it was like the fact that, because it was also like this woman gets fired for having a drinking problem. So she goes
Yeah.
back to her hometown and she runs into, I don't know faces. So it reminds me of that
Yeah.
guy who was in Sideways. He
Oh.
was, remember the wine movie?
Giamatti. Okay, I fucking love that movie. When he gets the wallet, that is one of the hardest times I've laughed.
I was
it's so
irritated
funny.
through that entire film. It reminded
There
me.
is irritating for some parts because you're
For
just
some
like
parts
this
of it,
guy.
but
Like this guy is the worst.
Why is he
friend
such
ever.
a douche nozzle?
I know.
Yeah, and so, but
Paul
I will.
Giamatti. Is
Right,
so funny,
it might have
though.
been him, but I think it might have just been another guy who kind of looked like that.
Or the guy that is the douchebag. Is that who you're talking about?
I don't know, the guy with the beard.
Oh, we know. Yeah, that was Paul.
That was Paul Giamatti. Okay,
The
so
main, yeah.
I've weeded us off of you getting to talk about the movies you like.
No, but I mean, I love Sideways. We can.
As far
I
as
love
I'm
all the other
concerned,
stuff
Sideways
too.
is a horror movie.
Yeah, it's like when you're stuck with you realize your best friend is
just
like
really
total
a piece of work
narcissist or something.
Yeah, that is a bit of, there's trouble there. It's so what's another one of your favorite ones, and
But
let's
honestly-
delve into the psychology of that.
Just one last joke. That must be a common horror for most men. Like I feel like straight men don't know how to cut toxic people out of their lives.
Oh,
So-
I think talk about some bumper stickers.
Yeah.
I believe you are right. Yeah.
So it could be a horror. Okay, so The Thing is like another one of my favorites. It's got Kurt Russell and Dave Child like in the beginning of their careers, and it's a John Carpenter film.
Oh,
And he did Halloween and
okay.
and it's so
He's famous, John Carpenter.
Yes, it's so fun. It's basically about this group of scientists in one of the poles. I'm like, is it the
what's it
North
called?
Pole or the South Pole? But it's called The Thing. Yeah, the movie's called
The
The Thing.
Thing.
And this
Did
alien.
Did they do a remake of it?
Yes, they did. It was a remake prequel. So like they're all at this station in an Arctic place, and this husky comes running into the zone, and there's a guy with a helicopter trying to shoot it down, and the guy like almost kills the husky, but the crew actually kills him because they're like, why is this guy trying to kill a dog? And then the husky's not a real husky. It's actually an ancient alien that got like defrosted, and it like is a shapeshifter. So like if it gets alone with a person, it takes on the shape of, or it just completely becomes them, you know. So it could be a husky, it could be a person, any kind of living organism. It's like a copycat. It copies that, and so and then only when it's about to like eat you. Yeah. What'd you say?
So Kurt Russell is in the original of that one.
Oh yeah, and he's looking good in that one, you know. And I mean, I'm a pansexual, so it's like I love seeing. It's funny seeing like I felt I'm like taken by the hotties taking these creature features down too. But it's also funny because Kurt Russell finishes off like an entire fifth of whiskey or scotch throughout the whole.
Okay.
And you're like, if this was real life, like would he be black? Like he's blacked out by now. Like
right. It's time to be out.
Yeah. And you don't blame him because like throughout the whole movie, you know, you start to realize they don't know who the thing has become because who it's eaten because it just starts taking down different people and like it looks just like your crew member. So everyone starts getting paranoid. No one can trust each other. They're stuck in this like Arctic area. And then it's got this awesome soundtrack. I feel like John Carpenter always has like a rapport with the like soundtrack Halloween. People. Yeah. Like in like this one, it's just this like like sound throughout the whole thing. And then you
ever listen to soundtracks just for fun?
Oh my God, all the time. Like I literally have them for different seasons. During fall, I have all the like soundtracks and interludes from all the like Suspiria and Halloween and Stranger Things and like
that's
and
amazing.
All that stuff. And I drive around to it, and one of my best friends from college, she'll get mad at me because I'll like pick her up. And she's like, are you literally listening to like the interlude music from Annihilation? Like, this is so stressful. How are you trying?
Right. How are you not stressed out as there's like dun dun dun? Like it's a constantly like you're like, am I being followed? Why do I feel like I'm always being followed?
It really gets me in the zone. I think with the ADHD, it like excites me. But
it must be something. It's got to be soothing somehow for you to just be able to go, oh right, here's that thing where, and then that happened. I used to just listen to movies as I drove around.
Oh my God, that's funny. Just listening to the movie, like a movie playing.
A whole movie. I had a VHS was hooked up to a tape deck.
Yeah.
And so I literally I recorded like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and
oh my God, that's like so funny.
A bunch of nerd movies and a bunch of George Cukor.
That's
I'm
fun
not saying there wasn't George Cukor.
I read books, but I also love an audiobook, and some of the audiobooks,
and that's what it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Are so good. You're just like, you're in the zone. I also love driving around listening to audiobook, but then I feel like I get really taken up by it sometimes. I'm like, okay, I have to focus. Like it depends what kind of driving I'm doing, you know?
If you have an unlimited data plan, you can listen to a movie anytime you want on your Netflix app on your phone.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's as long as you just have to minimize it so that you can also see the map.
I've been like bringing my iPad to the gym sometimes and just putting it on the elliptical, and I'm like, I'm like a 5-year-old just like watching,
just rewatching Nemo.
I'm just
over
watching
and over.
Squid Games over here, you know, getting an episode in.
That's hilarious.
It's a good thing to be on the elliptical for sure. You're just like freaking out the whole time.
So the one with the thing from the 12th century with Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Do they? I mean, if there's a prequel. it doesn't. We don't have to know if like one would imagine the husky would live, but if
Yeah,
it's a
I
sequel,
know.
with the actual original thing, did they did Kurt Russell win?
Yeah, so there, well, actually, it kind of ends also like Annihilation, where it's like
Ambiguous,
this open ended, it leaves you thinking with it. You're like, what do you think
open
happened?
ended endings.
There's this part where, so, and like when it shows itself, it turns into this like horrible, ugly, like fleshy monster. It's all handmade effects too. Like, it's amazing. They did such a good
Right.
job. The guy who did the effects in the movie actually kind of had a state of psychosis because he like was working so hard on them. He kind of lost his mind working on the, and I was like, that's crazy. But
I have to.
what were
Yeah.
you gonna say?
No, so do they all, because there's a short story written in the 1800s called The Lady and the Tiger, and
Yeah,
that has one of those ambiguous endings.
yeah, I
So,
love
and I've
that.
never enjoyed those. That is something
Really,
that, yeah, do you like it because then you can write it however you want?
maybe a little bit, and I also love that it kind of leads. You can kind of pick it up where you want to. Like I feel like that leaves room for creativity around that inspiration. Like I thought when you look at like the Wizard of Oz, it's
I
also ends like the fact that someone wrote Wicked after that is incredible to me. Like, and they're
Okay.
like, oh,
But
she
did you
didn't
ever read
actually.
Ender's Game?
Oh my god, yeah,
Because
yeah.
Ender's Shadow is just essentially Wicked.
Oh my
It's
god,
essentially it's
really?
well not really, but I mean it's like, so
Yeah. Okay,
Ender's Game
that's
is about Ender, right?
yes,
And Ender's
yes.
Shadow is about Bean, who
Okay, I
is
gotta check
Ender's
that
friend.
out.
And it's the same story as Ender's Shadow, but from the perspective of
Wow.
Bean.
Oh my
And
gosh.
remember, Bean
I
was his
love
friend.
that. So is that like metafiction or is that like
I
I've
don't
always been
know.
trying to figure out what that kind of because there's Beowulf and then there's Grendel. Did you read Grendel ever?
Not in decades. What I don't
But I love
explain.
Grendel. I don't know. It's just like the monster being like, I'm just a monster trying to be an ogre. Like, I don't want to mess with anybody. And like, why are these people keep coming over and trying to kill me and my mom? And I'm
Okay.
like, it's cool seeing a new perspective. Or they just did another one. It was on the bestseller list that I just got this year. It was James.
Oh, it's the Huckleberry Finn, but
Yes, and it
from
was
the
great.
perspective of Jim.
Yes, and it was
Yeah.
great. I had a really
Oh,
fun time. It's like funny and it's like also awkward. Like, I mean, as a white person, you're like, we do that. That's us. Like,
oh my
you're like,
God. Right. But
but it's humbling.
he's
It's good.
right. And the fact that, I actually know what the spoiler is on that one, but I will not say what
Yeah.
it is because that one's a brand new book.
Yes, totally. It's a brand
And
new. Get it though. It's great.
right. Because I mean, the thing
Yeah.
is, when you look at books from back in the day and, Wizard of Oz and, Chatterley's
Yeah.
late, lover and
Yeah.
all of these old, like there's a pile of books that were groundbreaking at the time. Miss
Totally.
Lady Chatterley's Lover was this huge reveal, or the book that was written in the 1600s about, not Nell Gwynn, what was her name, but it was about a prostitute, and it was fiction, and it was a
Whoa.
fictionalized story, and it was feminist writing,
That's
and it was
awesome.
banned for so hard banned. Like they were like, it's amazing that there's any copies of it at all.
That's so
Because
cool. I like one of I'll have to check it out. You'll have to send me that one because I love
well, it's very hard to read because it was written in the late 1600s,
totally,
and you're
totally. I had
like,
to read
all right, I've been assigned a book that does it have
yes.
cliff notes? And it does, of course, because it was written in the 1600s, and things that were written in the 1600s have cliff notes, like
Yes.
Don Quixote, which is
That's true. I
I don't
do
know if
read
you
them with that like
it
subtitle.
helps.
It really does help. It does help.
Yes,
Uh,
because
um
it's not that we're not smart. It's just that it's harder language. To read
yeah.
Canterbury's Tales without some sort of academic help.
Of course.
will not be as understood, I don't think. Yeah.
I feel that way in a lot of books just because of my ADHD. I think I focus on things that sometimes don't matter to people in books, and I'll get like upset and put books down for if a character I really like dies in a way that I didn't feel was doing the character justice. Like I'll put a book down for a week and then go back to it.
Are there horror movies that have done that?
Oh yeah.
Like
it took me,
where's the injustice in the horror world? Like who shouldn't have been killed?
I know, right? It's like always the pets. Okay.
Oh really?
I think
the animals?
yeah, anytime an animal dies in a movie, I'm always so sad. And that's the funniest thing is I can watch, but just because they don't know what's going on with them. But I will say, in a horror film, one that really messed with the way that I go into watching horror films was Midsummer.
What's that?
It's hard for me to. That is the. Is it Aronofsky or no? It's what it's everyone on your fans gonna be like, how dare you?
No, it's all right. They spend most of their time going.
Ari Aster. It's Ari Aster. He did like Hereditary, and now he says he's done doing horror.
Okay,
but like he does write these characters for this that there's a lot of these guys that you just hate. Like you're like, ugh, I want this guy to die, and it's weird going. It's one thing to have characters like that in a horror film, like a slasher or something, but you just feel really bad for the main character, which is a woman. But then you find out that, like, in the end, like, they do all die, so she's happy. But at the same time, she, like, joins a cult. So you're like, it's like a weird, it left me confused, I'm like, did she win or did she just but also like it's a horror, he starts off with like a huge tragedy and then the horror film starts. So it's also hard.
Okay. So is it a horror film or is it a slasher film? Or is that a genre of a horror film?
Slasher is a genre. So it's basically like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Psycho, right. And then there's some blurred
Midsummer's
lines.
like that. Okay.
We actually just got and it's funny because there's a slasher for every generation, which I like.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a Psycho was like the early 90s. Yeah, and then there was after Psycho, there was
like The Exorcist was that one?
Oh, so I would think Exorcism. So I think Exorcism is its own genre. Like that's another genre, like Exorcist stuff.
Okay, because that's a religiously kind of ones, like The Omen.
Yes.
What kind is The Shining?
I would say The Shining. Okay, so let's see. We got Michael Myers. I'm trying to go in like the
decades.
Yes. So we have Norman Bates, and then there was Leatherface, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
Then there was Michael Myers, and then Michael Myers is Halloween.
Was that the name? Oh, that's Halloween. Okay.
Yes, and then after Halloween, we got Friday the 13th, which is a ripoff of Halloween.
Okay.
And then we get Freddy Krueger in the 80s.
Okay.
And then in the 90s, we got Chucky. And then now we have the Terrifier, which is so scary. People are like walking out of that movie right now.
Oh, really?
But it is like so gory. Like it's so gory. Okay. Like it's just.
And they can make it all look so much more real now.
Yeah, well, actually, the cool thing about the Terrifier is the director actually refuses to use CGI or anything, so everything is like hands-on effects. It's classically made, and I do nod to that.
So it doesn't. Yeah, so it doesn't look as real.
And he's what's cool too is it was a short film by a DIY director, and then people liked it so much because it has such a classic feel that it got crowdfunded to they extended it and made the Terrifier, so then it came out on like Netflix and stuff.
Okay.
Then they did the Terrifier 2 in theaters and now the 3. And now it's like a huge franchise. And they've created a hero in it, which is also the final lady.
Okay.
And she's got like semi superpowers. They're really like developing the world around it, which is interesting.
Right.
But
That's fascinating. So those are
yeah.
slasher movies.
Yes.
Did you ever see a Stockard Channing murder movie called The Girl Most Likely To?
No.
Because that's from the 70s, and I never saw it just because I don't wanna.
I'm gonna watch
But
it.
she was supposedly unattractive in high school.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at
And
her
then
now.
she got in a car accident, and then she got plastic surgery, and she decides to go kill everybody who was mean to her in high school.
Okay, cool. Like I do love a revenge movie too. There's all this revenge horror. Like Last House on the Left is revenge.
What's that one?
There's this
Last
like
House on the Left.
there's this gang of kids
Oh, it's
that
kids.
are yeah, it's got that kids, but they're like teenagers, I would say. Like
Right, I would
teenagers,
imagine. Like,
early
are there
20s,
any?
young adults. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Question
so-
after this will be if there are any ones with babies, like tiny children that are a gang. Anyway, but
like
Last
just
House
the
on
kid
the
horror.
Left. Yeah, that'd be weird.
I don't know actually if there is like they definitely use kids in horror
Right.
film for like I would think they usually fall in the Exorcist realm of films.
Right, like The Shining and the with those two twin girls.
So I would say like The Shining is almost God, I want to look up what it's called because I'm a huge Stephen King fan too, and like
Okay.
it is a creature feature. But The Shining is like it's a horror mystery. That's what they're classifying it as, which is interesting because I think but it also Stephen King's really into like a higher power, but not really like getting into exactly who it is. And so there is a lot of themes like that, but I guess it does kind of fall into possession movies because it's like he's getting possessed by like some other evil spirit that's like haunting the hotel, you know? Yeah.
Right. So wait, so Last House on the Left is a revenge movie?
Oh yes. So it's about a group of kids. There's an original and then there's a new one that Ricky Lindholm's actually in.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, it's so funny. And
Does she
she's
play
great.
the parent?
She's actually like one of the bad guys in it, but it's a group of people. They're just like they don't really they're like, you know, bad people out there just trying to hurt people, take their money, moving across. And they come across this family's kid and they her and her friend, and they basically beat them up and they assault the girl, which is sad. And then they kill her friend, and then but she in the original she does I think die, but then they go and they try to crash with her parents, not knowing that it's their house.
Oh,
and the parents put it together that these people were
the ones who killed and raped everybody?
Yes. Okay. And so then the parents are like, we're gonna kill you. And so then the plot turns and like their revenge. And then the same thing happens in the newer version, except the daughter doesn't die, which is like kind of nice. It's just so bleak in the beginning. It's one of those ones where like you're like, I could stop watching after but then this huge revenge happens where you're like, okay, now I need to see these parents like kick these people's ass because
do they end up do you think in the remake that they're gonna kill them as well? Do they kill them?
They and you know who plays one of the bad guys too? Jesse what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Okay. Yeah, I remember the kid, the guy who played the younger man.
His name Jesse in
his
Breaking
character's
Bad?
name is Jesse, I think.
Yes, but what is his? I'm like, I know it, and I just can't. You know, Breaking Bad was one show that I still want to go back. I haven't finished it. I get to.
I watched it until the ATM fell on his girlfriend, and then I said, "This isn't going to ever end well." And so I stopped watching it that very day. Much like The Godfather, which I saw the first one, and at the end of it, I was like, these people are never gonna become
It's never
upstanding
gonna be. It's like a
citizens.
zombie series. Like, it should have been a
Mm,
movie.
yeah, not gonna
Like,
happen.
yeah.
I have a hard time with sort of there's so much sadness
There is
and
sadness.
and
And
scary stuff in the world, and so I have a hard time watching sad movies or
humoring it.
dramas.
Yeah,
Yes. And so I
totally.
do like a wacky I enjoy a wacky film.
I
And maybe
love
I'll do a Dork
weird stuff
Forest one
too.
day about wacky films that Jackie Cation enjoys.
Oh, I love a
But
wacky film too. Like one that just gets it's so bad it's good. That I love
yeah.
that. Like,
Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, Overboard.
yes. Okay.
Did you ever see Overboard?
I have not, but I will because
You will
wait, is
enjoy
that
it.
the one that they met in? Like where they
Yeah, I believe
started?
so. And they just
Okay,
did a
that's what I
remake of it
heard.
that was not good.
Oh my god.
But because it's not a good movie, it isn't, well, it's dumb. She, bark,
Shh.
bark.
Sorry.
And she has essentially, she plays a super rich lady and she's mean to Kurt Russell. So she has amnesia. He kidnaps her
Oh my gosh.
and then makes her clean his house and raises children. So, and then they fall in love because it's the 70s. And
That's so many. Like I feel like we got that in the early 2000s too. Like in
it's
comedies.
yeah, it's just it doesn't hold up as much as you would think it does.
Yes.
And then you watch it
Yes.
anyway and go, I swear to God, I've tried to get Andy to watch any
Sorry.
number of Rock Hudson, Doris Day movies. And Andy's like, he's horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, he is. He's a liar. And like, if you try to watch You've Got Mail, you're just
Oh
like,
man, I
are
haven't seen
you
it since I was a
gaslighting?
kid.
Are you gaslighting her the entire movie? Yes, you are.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
crazy. Watch
it's
or even Harold and Maude. Have you rewatched?
yeah.
You're like, oh,
What's
the ladies do it too.
oh right, because of how old she is, like she's 100. Yeah,
She's
you
like
can always
so.
trick a 16-year-old into touching your bits. It turns out if you're the adult. Um,
I loved
yeah.
that movie though when I was a kid. My dad showed it to me, and I, as an adult, I'm like, it is a little creepy that
Yeah.
she's
Some stuff just doesn't hold up as like
even,
you think it would. Do
but
horror
it's like a
movies?
fun watch. Like, have you rewatched Wedding Crashers recently?
No, I didn't like it when it came out. But
Okay,
remember, I was already sentient.
no,
So
yes,
I couldn't do it.
I liked it when it came out, but I rewatched it. I was like, everyone in this movie is a sociopath. Like,
Right. They're all abusing their power
yeah,
in some way,
yeah.
shape, or form. And I was like, why is this fun?
And
As a
we're rooting for the wedding crasher to like take the wife. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
yeah, like it's so funny. You're like, what is the plot?
Wait,
Sorry, what
well,
was your
how is that?
question?
Is Matthew McConaughey in that one?
Which one?
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding crashers. It's Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn,
Okay,
and
it's Vince
then
Vaughn, who I get
Isla
sometimes mixed
Fisher
up
and
with
Ray.
Matthew
Yes.
McConaughey.
No, I can see
Uh,
that. I thought you
they're
were going to
all
say Vince. I thought you were going
it's
to
all a blur.
say. I could see like Owen Wilson and Matthew McConaughey kind of mimic doing like some mirroring acting together too.
And I very, very rarely, but I occasionally get to meet the famous. And whenever I meet them, I'm always like, oh, it's like Dabney Coleman is the poor man's Gene Hackman. Like
Yeah,
I get them all like Judge
totally.
Reinhold and
Yes,
Steve
that looks.
Gutenberg. I get those
That's
guys
that kind
mixed
of
up.
guy. There's like a
And
lineage of them,
yes.
like the types.
Well, this has gone by very quickly. Let's talk about another horror film you like so that you get to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well. So yeah, another one that we could sit so we could talk about 28 Days Later because the third is coming out soon. And I think so there's a comic book series. I didn't realize that. But
Okay.
Alex Garland, he also did Annihilation. So he wrote the screenplay and collaborated with the director who did 28 Days Later back in like early
It's
2000s.
sort of like patient zero of zombieism. Is that it?
Yeah, like the zombies are like fast and like rabid,
Oof.
And they're just filled with rage. It's like a rage disease. And it takes over London, and he wakes up like a couple weeks into it because he somehow got locked in a hospital room. So
Okay.
he wakes up and there's no one around. And like he's like trying to find people and like little zombies are coming out and I
Creepy.
think that also is another like, makes you feel like oh, you could lose everything, like kind of feeling. But also there's like little charming moments in the movie where like they go through a grocery store and just stock up on stuff and have fun like eating candy and like I'm
There's this
sure everyone really
terrifying.
loved that
Are
part,
you?
but
Are you? So he is essentially alone in the world 28 days later.
well, not really. Like
He
he
thinks he
wakes
is,
up
maybe.
alone. He wakes up
Okay.
alone and just no one's around. But then he finds out like they're kind of huddled around. Kind of like, did you watch The Last of Us?
Absolutely not. Okay.
Um, yes, The Last of Us has a similar vibe where like as they get further into the pandemic of it, like they're not everywhere. So like
Right.
they're
They're just
hiding.
isolated packets,
And then
pockets.
the zombies are like, oh, there's a person, but they've
Yeah.
been docile because there's nothing enticing them. So he wakes up like in central London, like just kind of like, hello, hello. And he goes into this church and there's a few zombies in there. And he is like, oh shit, something fucked up's happening. And then some survivors who are like geared up are like fill him in, and then he's kind of just moving with them, and like they become like their own family in a way, which is interesting. And um like there's a love interest, and there is some sad moments where like I'm like, oh god, it's just such good like I am a Cancer, so I do love I do love tugging on the heartstrings. And I mean, that stuff does scare me sometimes. And so, but
Right. So
I
what's
think,
scary about this? I mean, I get what's scary about it. It's jump scares, fast zombies, being alone. But
yeah, I
what
think
gives you hope in the middle of it? Because I mean, obviously you're watching it, getting something cathartic out of it, right?
they're trying to get to like a radio signal throughout the whole movie. And they just kind of become, at first, all of them really don't trust each other. And then they kind of become
Well, you sort of like the
allies.
group, the forming of the group.
Yeah, it's almost like
Okay.
reality. I don't like reality TV, but it's like it builds this reality of like, what would you be in this situation where like your
Right, like
skills.
a found family kind of thing.
Yes, yes. And there is a scene where like they're walking and there's this corpse that's like above them on some
Mhm.
rafters, and the dad of this daughter, there's a dad and a daughter, and then a woman, and then him. And so
Okay.
the dad looks up and gets a little blood from the corpse in his eye, so he gets infected.
Oh,
And
oh,
he just like immediately starts telling his daughter, he like realizes he can feel it. So he's like,
yeah.
I want you to
He
know I love you very much. And she's like, what? And he starts like twitching, and it's like, oh, I was like sobbing.
Oh, right, right. Right,
But it
right.
scares me. I think things that make you sad can be scary. Like there's a lot of dramas out there that I would consider horror too. Like My Girl really fucked me up. Like
Well, it's some dramas are horrifying. I mean, it's horrifying in the old use of in the actual definition of the word kind of thing, where you're
yeah.
horrified, where you're
Yes.
able to be you're scared for people, you're scared about people,
Yes.
you're scared
Yes.
about situations, and you're scared about the plot and what's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be like you seem to like people driven ones as opposed
Yeah.
to monster driven ones, even though
I
some of the
do
monster
enjoy a
driven ones.
monster, but I do like seeing the people's reaction to the monster. I would.
Right, like the monster is extraneous, and sometimes the monster is the person who's been like infected somehow,
Yeah,
like by an alien or a zombie thing or
yes, and I also really loved the new Godzilla that was released, and it wasn't American, and so they did an Asian
okay.
release of Godzilla, and the main character lost his medals, I think, in combat because he didn't act in survival mode when he should have been. He was a military, so he like
Okay.
was ashamed because he cowered in face of battle.
There was
And
cowardice or something. Yeah.
yeah, and then Godzilla comes
And
and
And who's there for you? Who's there for you? Yeah, that guy.
Yes. And so, that's a newer one, so I don't want to spoil it too much.
No, we'll
But
leave that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you see, it's like, here's Godzilla, but this man's dealing with inner turmoil of cultural stuff that he's dealing with. And I really enjoyed it. You know, Van Glass, Jason Van Glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that was really cool. And he was like, oh, that had some bad
I think he's
messages.
been on the Dork Forest, Jason Van Glass.
Yes.
He, I think, talked about collecting comic books.
Yes.
He might be just
Yeah, he's
collecting
great.
everything. It was probably
Totally.
7 or 8 years ago, though. So
Yeah,
Jason
that's
Van Glass,
awesome.
still a great comic. By the way,
Yes.
let me just tell you, I am talking with Katie Bowman, and it's at Katie Bowman, it turns out. katiebowman.rocks. Oh, Katie Bowman Comedy, actually. It's at Katie
Yes,
Bowman
that's
Comedy,
okay.
right? For Instagram and
Yep.
stuff.
Yes, please
And-
follow me. I could use a follower or two.
Yes, and current album, Neurodivergent Nightmare, correct?
Yes.
And
Listen
so
to it, stream it.
listen to it, stream it. Feel free to throw $10 and buy it. What? No, you knock yourselves out, you guys.
Please buy it.
Yes.
Yes.
But I just want to say it's been an hour. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I've been wanting to do this podcast. I'm a fan, and it's just means so much for you to have me on. So thank you.
You're welcome. And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
Hi, Adal. How was the show?
The horror.
The
it
horrors.
Was with Katie Bowman, and she talked about horror movies.
Oh.
You know, as probably the 7th person to tell me that The Thing is her favorite horror movie,
Oh, it's a good one.
it makes me kind of want to see it.
Oh, no, you would hate it. You would truly, I mean, you would probably appreciate it for how good it scared you.
Right. Like, well done, right?
Well done. Yes, because now you're terrified.
Congratulations. She told me that the opening scene was this husky.
Yes.
And of course, as per usual, even though it was the 80s, though, it was well
It was the
after
80s.
Old Yeller.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't remember when the 80s started, there was like, oh no, we're done watching dogs die.
Oh, yeah. But you
even
get to
if-
see. This one is not a pet, though.
No, even if we're wrong, we will go on the side of the dog. That
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
a dog. The dog is clearly some sort of alien or something, right?
Well, I mean, it wasn't clear at the beginning of the movie, but yeah,
No. Yes.
the dog is the first thing that gets taken over by the
Yes.
alien.
And it's
And,
super, this episode is incredibly spoilery. If you have not seen the
Oh my
1983 movie, The
Yeah,
Thing.
yeah. If you haven't seen this 40-year-old movie, it's going to be a little spoilery for you.
She did have, it was very funny. She liked, the things that she liked about them was the sort of the people part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of the madness that she could see. I think you don't feel alone when you see the madness.
Right. It's all of these movies require some sort of like really remote location, right? So you can't just leave. So the characters can't just leave,
right.
and there's they've probably been together for a while, and so there's interpersonal relationships between the people.
Trust issues, yes.
Trust issues, and people. Some people like each other people, and some people are disliked by the rest of the group, and so all of those dynamics are what drive the best of these movies.
I have to say that my favorite line that I could not figure out how to clip out in the teaser. But my favorite line was because one of her favorite things is watching, she said, I think straight white men in these movies have a problem ending toxic male relationships. And
Yes.
It made me laugh. I was like, wow, that would be a genre unto itself.
Right. Well, so here's I think that's probably just true in general.
Yeah, right?
I think it's very unusual for men to end relationships
with other men.
With other men at all. You just stop hanging out.
Right. But you're like, I hope that guy doesn't call me anymore.
Right. Right.
Maybe,
which maybe that's the way we're supposed to end relationships. You're just like,
right.
Done.
They got right.
I'm done with this person.
But if that guy keeps coming around, you don't know how to say, dude, we actually can't hang out. You're actually such a jerk. I don't want to.
Yes. Yeah,
that's what she was talking about, I think.
Yeah. I think I think she's absolutely right about that. Yeah, because we've never done it. We've never needed to do that.
Right. So it's kind of, but it was my favorite line but it's a great episode. Katie Bowman, her comedy album is called, what is it called? It's called Neurodivergent Nightmare.
Oh, cool.
Kind of a cool, yeah. I actually am curious about the horse.
That's a good name for a horror film, even.
Right. She likes cosmic horror. That's
Cthulhu and that sort of stuff, like great
sci-fi kind
big
of, or
science fiction things that can destroy Earth.
Yeah, but it was a great episode. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about it.
Yay.
And I got to. So, Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?